Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We are tonight's entertainment.
Navin Ganesh. I drive a 1989 Honda Civic left-hand drive EF. First off, it's a very old school Civic CRX EF chassis. Picked it up from an old guy in Toronto for $50, and from there it started off being a build before I bring it back to Trinidad. And it basically took me roughly about 2 years to build the car from the ground up. It was just a bare shell, and from there we did it step by step until it was complete, up until the very last day that it had to be in the container before we bring it to Trinidad. Passion for cars began with my uncles and my cousins rallying when I was a young boy, and being exposed to that part of the sport is basically where my passion for racing came in. And from there it went into circuit, and from there it went to drag. The first setup on this car was a ZC dual overhead cam. Then we turbocharged with what you call a backyard build, which is a CT28 from our all-track Civic, and a Saab manifold. And from there we basically did just roughly about 250 horsepower. Probably about 16 years or so. Maybe more, give or take. Right, so the builder and tuner is a guy by the name of Wayne Alexis, otherwise known as Scooby or Doc. He is the engine builder. He is also the tuner. Engine building is also done by a guy named Ian, myself, and a few other guys in my crew. In terms of engine, it's a LS VTEC, which is what you call a Frankenstein, 1.8 non-VTEC block with a VTEC GSR head, fully built, forged pistons, rods. Everything on the head is Brian Crower, including cams. Turbocharger is a Precision 6266 Juno, and suspension is basically yellow speed. The car is pretty much set up for drags, but can be converted very shortly with doing some small things to make it a circuit car. Low boost on 12 pounds, if I recall, is roughly about 320 horsepower with about 250 foot-pound of torque. High boost, which is roughly about 20 pounds of boost. We just basically hit 460 horsepower on pump gas, and previously we did 500 with race gas, but we had some issues and had to go back to the pump gas until feature. Best quarter mile time is 11.2. There's too many to list, but overall the actual shape of this particular chassis and the way the car handles in terms of suspension. I spent a lot of time putting the suspension together properly for it to be set up to do pretty much anything I want. So that's basically what I love the most about the car, and my little music I have in it. Right now, honestly, no. No plans on doing that. It is something I would do in the future, but not for right now. Race day problems mainly would be sometimes transmission issues, which we've sorted out after trial and error. We finally got the right combination to get the proper gearbox in place. Other than that, there's no other issue per se. Traction, as they say, for front wheel drive is always an issue, but in this particular car, with the way it's set up, traction is not really much of an issue because I know how to basically drive the car. Biggest rivals on a race day at the track would mainly be majority of the four-wheel drive fraternity. Evos, Subarus, anything four-wheel drive basically are the rivals, but friendly rival, but at the end of the day it's still a front-wheel drive. I'm hoping to get down into 10s with a full street car that is also a drag car that could be used for both. So 10s, high 10s, mid 10s with the exact same power level. I've always liked Honda chassis from ever since my high school days, in shop class, building old Hondas. And Honda, in my opinion, is just one of the better platforms for circuit. It's a light chassis as well too. Other than that, I just love Honda. The goal and my achievements for the end of 2020 is to actually hit that 10-second marker. I know the car has been around for a long time, but it's always been small power, and I choose to keep it at small power. So my achievement for the end of the year would also to be at a 500 horsepower level, and to hit that 10, hopefully. Most memorable moments. Whew, that's a tough one. There's a couple, but two that kind of comes to mind at the moment right now. There was an event at Waller Field a few years ago where we took the 12-second category. It was a night event, and we ran a 12-0 back-to-back on 3 separate occasions in one night, which was actually a really nice accomplishment.
Another one. Another one.
I am honestly one of those guys that I'm very humble. I don't normally call out people, but when we do go back to the track, there would be a couple guys I would like to rerun, which is basically you know, maybe some of the four-wheel drive guys, not to name names, but you know, there's a few guys. Let's say the GTR from Garage Fresh. I had an opportunity to run him. He basically cut my tail, but it was a close race. It was a nice race. I would like to rerun Mad Cow at some point in time. I had some issues, mechanical issues running Mad Cow. Other than that, basically anybody that wants to line up with me and run, it's not really a problem, you know. I really don't have a preference. Once you're up for a run, I'm there for a run. All right, so I'd like to shout out first and foremost my team, which is basically Vishal, Aaron, Alexis, Ricardo, Nicholas, and most importantly Wayne Alexis, as well as the other guys that have helped me along the way throughout the build process over the years. My family for understanding my passion and for always putting up with you know, the late nights and the noise in the background and you know, all the headaches in the garage 2 o'clock in the morning before race day. And that's about it basically.